All right, we are live with the one and only Karla Rivera. Karla, how are you?
Good, good. Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to see you.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. I know it's been a while. You've got a few things on your plate. You've got quite a lot actually going on, don't you?
Quite a bit, yes. And everyone, I think, has quite a bit right now during this transition. So,
That's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, for some of the folks who don't know you, I know you have a pretty big following, but for those folks who don't know you, you know, give us a little bit of background. Tell us a little bit about what you cover. We know you work for Cisco. You're on an executive board for Cisco as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
yeah, I would love to. So, my background, been in sales or strategy or in marketing, and actually was a business professor for a while in academia for the last 22 years or so. My latest role is a strategy planning, transformation, and ops for America service provider. And so that is really fun function selling to our service providers for their internal IT and building the strategy and alignment there of what our customers need. So it's really exciting. I am also the chairwoman for Women of Cisco, for the board of Women of Cisco Americas. So that is really fun. That is one of our employee resource groups that is near and dear to my heart. And I also serve on a couple of nonprofit boards. A Love Never Fails, which is near and dear to my heart, with Vanessa Russell. Is the CEO there. And as you know her really well, Sabrina, I know. And also Thrivent Financial. So just, yeah, really busy. Newly was married the last year and a half. So during this pandemic transition. So lots going on, but super fun. I've got about a year and a half left of my doctoral degree, and it's a DBA, a Doctorate in Business Administration in Strategic Leadership. So pretty
Yeah.
busy.
Just a few things, just a few things. But what I love about it is you bring in all of your passions together and you get to live your best life. Not to say it's not hard, right? Like you mentioned, there's a lot going on. I can't even imagine doing all of that in the middle of a pandemic, plus getting married. So kudos to you for doing that and pulling it off. But you get to pull in all of your passions, right? The fact that you get to help such an important segment like service providers with such an amazing organization like Cisco, and then pull in, diversity, inclusion, and equality in tech or STEM itself, that's massive. That's massive. And what an amazing time to do that. I love that you get involved in all of that now. And like you said, you've got some all kinds of boards and things like that you're on. So that's why we wanted you here today, because to really take those kinds of leaps to make an impact in those different areas that you've covered, that you're involved in, there's some really important steps that you have to take. And we've talked about this offline. It really starts with learning. It really starts with investing in where you want to go, and in tools and resources and in people and in your own learning to get there. So I wanted to sort of unpack what you're seeing now in the marketplace, and then I want to get to what you're doing personally. So don't think you're getting off easy, but I'd love to know, what are you seeing? How are businesses investing differently? Not just in service provider, but sort of across organizations. What are you seeing?
Right. Well, I think this is in general, but our service provider customers are doing it very quickly and transitioning because they need to serve their customers as well, very quickly in this transition. Especially with this hybrid workplace transition, everyone is trying to learn, right? They're trying to figure out what best fits their employee needs. What do they need to do to what platform and what technology and automation do we actually need to transition to so that employees can work in this hybrid workplace. We know that at least one person will be virtual at every meeting. So Do we have the platform ready for that? Do we have, collaboration? So we're thinking and learning at this time about what does best fit our employees and the employees' needs. And so our customers are thinking about that as well and transitioning there. So right now it is a time of learning. It's trying to get it right in as we're building the plane, of course, right? So this time of learning is fantastic in the sense that we can now reimagine. We're forced to reimagine what is best for our employees. How are we going to attract the best talent? How do people work best? And then build around that, right? So as our customers were transitioning towards digitalization anyway, and now with this transition, with the pandemic in place, they had to transition much faster and maybe even take a different strategy approach for their internal employees. So this is a time of learning and a continuous learning. We are in the midst of it, and it'll be some time until we really figure it all out, and it might look different in different organizations with different employees. And Cisco's doing a great job of saying, hey, how do they work best? And we'll work with that, and we'll build the technology to do that, right? And we have the best technology. And what can I say, especially collaboration. Love our WebEx and how it enables us, right? The infrastructure and the cool features that it has to enable us to be able to do things like this, to work virtually, and to still bring our best selves, and with not only at work but with our family, which is pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, and you touch on a couple things. I think, the fact that you have to really look at what is the best way for your organization to work. And then, like you said, build around that. There really isn't this sort of static model. I think in some cases there's some best practices. Like you mentioned, I think that data is rolling out and will continue to roll out, but we know at least right now the data is showing that there's at least one person going to be remote for each call. So how do you adapt to that so that everybody is able to collaborate, is able to participate, is able to kind of take the business objectives, the targets to the next step? Because at the end of the day, we have to stay in business, but we also have to stay working together in a model that looks so different.
It does.
And
I think you're nailing it on inclusiveness, right? Is that virtual representative, the person who's at the other end on a laptop, right, and everyone else is in the office, should feel and be included just as much as the others there. And it's important. And it's important for success and growth. And it's important for our people.
Right. So are there some, I know we just said there's no static model, but are there some best practices, even that you're seeing across the board, maybe not necessarily just within service providers, and even with your team where you go, this is really working? This, when we look at these types of factors, or when we take into consideration these types of people or needs of the business, this is what's helping business and teams work better together.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's all about collaboration and communication, right? And the how we go about it in an intelligent manner. I want to touch on something that you said about inclusivity and about basically how I utilize my day job and all these ERO functions and school, being in my doctorate, right, and being on the boards. At the end of the day, it's all purposeful. And what I love about taking all of this aggregate information and synthesizing and being able to utilize what I'm learning with the strategic leadership doctorate, what I'm learning with this past year of what, with this transition in the workplace, but also the social actions that we've been learning about, and how culture is so important to employees and teams and society at large. So what I think is really cool is the ability to be able to take what we're doing as far as social actions are concerned, and doing good is good for business, bottom line. And so I think that that's what I've seen from a trend perspective, and a motivation and inspiration perspective to our teams, is that Cisco really cares about what's going on socially. So, and by the way, it does seep down to our business. And again, I'm going to say it again. I'm quoting Chuck Robbins, where he says, "Doing good is good for business," and it is. It's a win for everyone. It's a win for us. It's a win for the employees. It's a win for the customers, and it's a win for our customers, and society at large. So one of the things that I appreciated and I've learned during this transition is that, and I'm really proud to work for a company that speaks up, right, about social injustice, or what's going on and what matters to people. And so what I love about that is our EROs, or our ERGs, employee resource groups, like Women of Cisco. We have been thinking about how in our day jobs with particular organizations that how can we help the organizations within Cisco, and one of the and how can we touch and augment the good that we're doing, partnering with our customers and our partners. And so it's really exciting to have these aha moments to say, look, we can absolutely bring good into what we're doing with our business, whether that be with sustainability, or whether that be with this bridge pilot that we're doing, teaming up with Verizon, sharing best practices that we are doing to bridge the gap of women in technology. So we are also not only going to share these best practices, actually, on, if I can do a shameless plug, on October 14th on Cisco.com, it will be showing live. So I can't wait for that. But Verizon and Cisco has teamed up to say, hey, let's really do good, and let's share those best practices so that our customers and our partners and the audience at large can implement those great best practices that we're doing to bridge that gap, that gender gap, and continue to help women in IT. So one of the things that we're also doing is we're creating a social action plan with, it's called Women Rock IT. And so that really, it's bringing in small business entrepreneur women to talk about to our young audience of like 8 to 15 years old, and convey to them how technology and 5G and what our service providers are doing are actually helping their business. And so that's really interesting, and helping them innovate. So we're teaming up there for Women Rock IT and STEAM, and helping to, just give the next generation a taste of, hey, technology can really change the world we're in, and we'd love for young ladies to be a part of it.
You hit it. I think if we could say the best practice in one word, it's partnership.
It is.
Because everything you just said is about partnership, whether you're partnering with, schools so that you can get in front of this younger generation, whether you're partnering with Verizon so that you can share best practices, whether you're partnering with your team, or just like what's happening right now, where we're able to partner and collaborate and say, okay, this is what I'm seeing. I think so often we can get kind of stuck in these silos, and we're, sort of heads down, and we might have a very good understanding of what's going on in our business or in our lane. But when we start looking across the aisle, I think that's where the fun begins. That's where the innovation begins. And like you hit on, there can be a social component too. And you're exactly right. We're seeing the exact same thing in the data, not just as it relates to net new buyers or expanding existing deals or driving higher adoption rates, but also as it relates to hiring and recruiting new people. People want to buy from, work with, and work for companies that care.
Absolutely.
And I think that you see that, and you get a chance to integrate that into what the business itself is already doing, and in the adjustments that we've had to make, as you mentioned, being forced through the pandemic. Does that sum it up fairly well?
Absolutely. And again, I mean, there's so much to it. We are now looking at, and we have been at sustainability, things like smart buildings and partnering with our customers to help build, to reduce the carbon footprint. So there definitely is alignment, and we can have business and social actions and goodness for the environment all together. It's not one or the other. It really is both. And so I love being able to be in all these different facets, because at the end of the day, they all intertwine.
Exactly. Exactly. In fact, I just saw in the comments, someone just mentioned, as a businesswoman, leader, and mom, I love everything about this, and I think what's so true about that, and what you even opened with, is I'm going for my doctorate's degree. I'm on these boards. I have this leadership position at a massive company. And also I just got married. We're all sort of navigating this and get to be a whole person, as opposed to, again, just stuck in those silos, kind of looking at each lane as maybe something that can be a hybrid. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think you've got it.
Good. One of the things, just because I know we won't have enough time if we don't hit on it now, is, just your own personal investment in learning. You're doing a lot, both, in very structured academia, but also just in your continued learning, and how, like you mentioned earlier, reaching out to other groups and being part of other groups at Cisco, that you're talking to, different teams that you otherwise maybe wouldn't. So help us understand, why did you make that leap? That's a massive investment, both time, resource. I'm sure you're exhausted. I know I am. So why did you make that investment in learning?
So for my doctorate, to be honest with you, it reminds me of when I played college ball. I was a pitcher at Oklahoma State, and it reminds me of being an athlete, just doing it with your brain. and really performance. I mean, I'm waking up at 3 a.m., studying. But again, it all intertwines. I feel at my top of my game in the last 4 years that I've been in school and working in strategy than I have ever been. So it's this amazing intertwining of learning and applying and implementing and testing and learning within itself, right? And so all of this to say that I think it was just something that was, how do I take myself to the next level? Not just for obviously myself and my family, but it's how do we take the next level in a purposeful way to be my best self for Cisco and my team and my boss and our customers. We've also been learning about, you're going to laugh at me, but I did get certified in what's called design thinking as well. And this is a framework during this time, this is like 2 months ago. And we implemented it into our strategy for America's service provider. And what I loved about it is that our team and stakeholders did a design thinking workshop that is all about the customer empathy. So it's all about the end user and building a strategy around that. And so that was such a cool workshop to really think about that empathy mapping. What does our end customer need? How, we're customer obsessed. So how do we empathize with our customer and work to provide the best strategy, the right resources, the right alignment within this massive matrix organization to do the best that we can for our end customers and of course for our people. So it all intertwines. And so this learning and this continuous learning will only make you better. And you think that you'd be tired, but it's invigorating.
That's, I think that's inspiring. That's exciting. And I think it's a bit of like an eye opener for me, because you're right. You think you would be tired, or you think that it would, again, be completely separate from what you're doing. But the fact that you're bringing that in there, and I could go on a massive, sidebar on that, because I think what you hit on is so perfect around how do you really build a true customer experience? How do you really become customer, obsessed? It's really about getting in their minds, right? Getting into their experiences, getting into what they need. And so I love that you brought that in so early. That's fantastic, you know? So I know we're out of time, Karla. If people want to reach you, is there a way they can get a hold of you or anything that you have coming up? I know you mentioned you've got a live coming up with Verizon, I believe. So where can people find that?
We do. We have a Cisco Verizon best practices. It will be on cisco.com October 14th, and that will be, I believe, at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. But look for it on my LinkedIn. We'll be announcing it, publishing it. So, and anyone can join. So it's completely open to the audience. So very excited about that. But you can look me up on my LinkedIn. Would love to take any questions or connect with anyone that would like to. I'm happy to do
it. Appreciate that. Yeah. And we'll make sure that we put that link down in the comments too, just so people have it. And definitely check out Karla. She is up to some really good stuff. I can't wait to see what's ahead for you. Karla, thank you. I wish I had 20 more minutes. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
All right. Enjoy your day.
Bye.